Hi. By marginally popular request on Twitter, we're going to take apart this dumpster HP Officejet Pro 8710 and we're going to see what parts we can salvage from this. I've done a video before and I'll link it in up here and down below if you haven't seen it, where I do this to laser printers and a whole bunch of other printers that I've done before. And of course, these types of inkjets, along with laser printers, are one of the most tossed out items in the dumpster room by far. Well, not the fact that I've got dozens and dozens of computers. Actually, monitors might be right up there with printers in terms of dumpster scores. But anyway, yeah, mostly all the printers that I actually use in the lab here, including on a daily basis, they all came from the dumpster, including like full-on A3 color laser printers. I'll link up here and down below if you haven't seen it. A huge big plotting machine, which I don't have anymore. I actually sold that, but a massive HP plotter. It is an inkjet, and the first thing I look for is, does it come with the ink? And the answer is no, obviously. So I don't know if I just why they tossed these out, whether or not it just ran out of ink, or whether or not it's you know, it's gone dodgy or something. Who knows? We'll power it up and have a squiz. Anyway, it's got the scanner, it's got the sheet feeder, it's got front USB by the looks of it. It's got a tray I haven't actually seen in there. There's no paper in there, but these things are built down to a price. They're making money on the ink cartridges, the consumables. Well, let's not go into that whole debate. But anyway, yeah, I'll power it up and then we'll take it apart and see what we can salvage out of these. Unfortunately, I'm pretty confident that these things are built down to an absolute bare minimum. So it's probably just mostly plastic and a little bit of metal, and we probably won't salvage nearly as much of this as you would out of like a large photocopier or like a really high-end laser printer, like a big, you know, proper HP industrial, you know, type 1. So yeah, I don't expect much from this, but it'll be interesting to see what we can score from, you know, one of these like consumery all-in-one jobbies. There's all the info for those playing along at home. I think it's like 2019 vintage or something like that. It's not hugely old. All right, will it power up? Let's have a look. Oh, no. Hey, it's actually, this is, unless there's another physical switch on it, that's pretty rare. Most of the stuff I find in the dumpster, it powers up, especially these printers. There's always like, you know, the printout like might be starting to go. I think the sucker's just died. Wow, that's quite rare. Of course, there's absolutely nothing of value in the trays. There's no sensors. There's no anything, just springs and plastic. Ugh. Really, the only thing I expect to find in here is power supplies. You might get a couple of motors and things like that out of it, but generally like nothing like you'd score from a good laser printer or a copier or something like that. They've just got like a ton of mechanical stuff. This will have absolutely bare minimum mechanical stuff, I'm sure. Of course, it's always good to keep main switch in power supplies, as we'll have a look at. It's probably got one in there worth keeping. There's lots of useful parts on those. I've got a tub just dedicated to you know, old switch mode supplies and stuff, and they've come in pretty handy. And the good thing about inkjets is that, well, yeah, you're not going to get like any toner in them, which otherwise I would have to do this on a big drop sheet, as I've done for previous videos. But, you know, no, you're not going to get any of your toner dust in this. The good thing about this is that we don't care about putting it back together, so we can just rip it apart. We can go medieval on its ass. Sensor, there's got to be some sort of sensor in there. And we've got ourselves an infrared photo detector on a convenient little board like that. So that's nice. You know, you might be able to use that, reuse that in some project. So you'd keep that board on its own. Well, so far they do like their T10 talks. There's nothing else. Okay, our side panel just fell off, and there's our main board. That's interesting that they got a plastic. What's that plastic doing over that board there? But interestingly, so yeah, that's all the main processor. I think that's probably the entirety of the electronics in here, apart from the mains, which is going to be, it looks like down in here. Looks like it could be enclosed in this plastic. Oh, I know why that plastic there. This is a modem interface. This is a line interface. Okay, yeah. There we go. Just got some line interface. You can see it's isolated there. No wuckers. Good old school telephone. Does anyone use a telephone anymore? Geez, must have a fax. There's all our wiring up in there. We'll just snippety-doo-dah that. Yeah, it's gone ski. So this will all just lift off now, hopefully. Whey, there we go. Gotcha. Gone to a bit of effort there to route the cable. Look at that. That's neat. And a ferrite on there. Someone's thinking. Only if you were really desperate would you keep like wiring harnesses like that. Although you could say it's useful to have like a range of these headers, for example. That's not 0.1 inch, so that'd be a smaller pitch. Might be handy to keep that because you might need to, I don't know, plug that into some board you're reverse engineering or something maybe. Well, that didn't come out nicely, but care factor 0. Just small system engineering things like here. Look, you see this little divot here? You know, whoever designed that 3D body, okay, had to be talking to the PCB designer. They had to have the PCB model to know that screw's in there. So when you put the screwdriver in there, you've got room for the thickness of the screwdriver. But, you know, that's pretty easy these days with your, you know, your integration of your 3D PCB models and all that sort of jazz. But, you know, but back in the day, the case designer would have to walk around to the cubicle of the PCB designer and go, hey, what's doing? Okay, this bad boy's going to come out. Yep, look at that. There you go. Got the connectors still in there. And in like Flynn, they didn't solder the battery in. It's in a socket. Look at that. None of that connector rubbish for the Wi-Fi board there. They've soldered that in. And that is some HP and ST branded jobby. I don't know. Now, generally, there's not much to salvage from modern boards like this, but these big-ass through-hole inductors here, you would certainly salvage those. You'd put those in your kit. They're really handy, like, because they're easy to get out, you don't damage them, and they're just very useful. Unless you were desperate, like you wouldn't keep this board, like you wouldn't keep this like you would for like power supply boards for like salvaging caps and stuff like that. It's just, yeah, I'd maybe nick the inductors. Of course, there's a very nice relay down here. That'd be a name brander. Yeah, that's a Japanese relay. No worries, you might salvage those. You also might salvage the high voltage caps here as well, the suppression caps. There's an optocoupler in there if you're into your surface mount optocouplers, but you're getting pretty desperate now, I think, if you really want to, like, you know, start salvaging surface mount parts like that. But you never know. Like, generally this board is too big to take up too much space in your miscellaneous component drawer, really to be of any major value in the future. So yeah, I wouldn't keep something like this. I'd probably just salvage the inductors and be done with it. Of course, through-hole crystals, always handy. And with Wi-Fi modules being so ubiquitous and cheap these days, like you wouldn't want to bother trying to like keep or salvage that, I don't think. Yeah. Well, it turns out this LCD just kind of like snaps off and it's got the ribbon in there. So, oh, look at that. They've got this, yeah, this is like a tilting mechanism. Now, LCDs are a good thing to keep because you can often get data on them and, you know, they'll just be like an off-the-shelf jobby pretty much, and we'll reuse it. So we'll have a look at that shortly. But that gives me access to a few more screws. The whole scammer system, yep, that just lifts off. So that's our CCD array and stuff. Like people actually, you can actually reuse these scanner bases for lots of like interesting experimental projects and stuff. So if you're into that sort of thing, like you could actually you could repurpose that for something anyway. But it doesn't look like this one has a secondary reading array for the paper feed mechanism over here. It's just the same array. I think it's just going to move it back into this portion of this system. So yeah, like this is like bare bones stuff. It's not as good as some of the, you know, the high-end photocopier systems. And this scanner tray is a classic example of cost reduction and minimized component count. As I mentioned, like this is just one big plastic molding on the top, which then like has just a glass sheet in it. There's another glass bit over here, and that's it, right? So that's just one molding there. And then you've got another entire plastic piece like this, which has the integral like cog in it, that's actually molded into it. Normally you'd have this like as a belt. You know, you'd have like pulleys like a belt, a nice big like a rubber belt in there to pull the things along, and a nice big sturdy metal tray like in the high end, you know, photocopier scanner type things. You would, office machines and stuff, you would, yeah, have, you know, nice big metal so it's all stable, and yeah, rubber pulleys and belts and cogs and everything. And this thing, nope, there's just two pieces of molded plastic like that. Another whole plastic molding for this. Oh, sorry, no, for the extra one for the top half here. But yeah, looks like 4 plastic moldings for that whole thing. It's got the one DC motor in here, just driving that worm screw, and then that just drives the. It just goes into the cog inside here and just drives itself along, and Bob's your uncle. I mean, that is like bare minimum engineering. Wow. Yeah, but it's not really wow. It's not surprising. I expected this sort of like bare cost engineering inside something consumer like this. That, as I said, like they're selling a ridiculously low price point. I'm not sure what the retail of this is, you know, a couple $100 or something. They make the money on the ink. So you might salvage the motor out of that. You know, it might come in useful for something. You have a motor, you know, like a motor box, something like that. But yeah, the linear scanning element like this is just like there'd be LED illumination in there, right? Plus a linear scanning element to get it all out. So I'll see if I can get it further. Heat staked the board in, I think. Actually, I might save this for a second channel video because this might be interesting. Anyway, that's all there is to it. Anyway, this is interesting. So yeah, I'm going to leave that for second channel. So subscribe to EEVblog too. I'll put that under the Tagano. I won't do it now for this video. Well, the motor has a positional wheel on it, and that's all she wrote. Wow, we're almost getting down into the don't care category now, aren't we? I mean, yeah, I can see the tubing sucks out the excess or whatever. But oh, geez, you know, got the carriage. There you go. That moves along. I don't know if you want the linear rod or whatever. They might be useful if you're into your mechanical stuff. But apart from that, I mean, there's going to be nothing on the head. And there's your print head for all you print head aficionados. There you go. You got your colours. It's kind of funky actually. I like it. Geez, they've really come a long way though. I mean, this is just insane quality. I can remember my old A3 Canon bubble jet. I think it was called a bubble jet back then, wasn't it? Yeah, A3 Jobby, and it was like I don't know. You could see the dots. You could count them. And that's the interface where the cartridge would go in there. That's where all the money's made with these contacts here that detect the ink cartridge and make sure it's genuine and, yeah, like stop working. And then they only fill them up halfway and then, you know, all the tricks of the trade, but not sure what they do, whatever. But anyway, yeah, the whole industry's a rort, of course. It's where all the money's made, and yeah, like, don't get me started, like you buy the printer and it comes with like only like, I don't know, 10 or 20% of the ink that you'd get for like a full cartridge or something, so you have to buy a new cartridge as quick as possible. And then they got the digital rights management and everything else, and yeah, slowly getting into it, but this is a lot of effort for, I think, what's going to be very minimal reward. Yeah, it's all just bloody plastic and T10 Torx screws. Sneaking into some metal work now though, but yeah, there's just nothing doing here. I can be pretty confident that, you know, like apart from this motor here, there's another motor up under there. Apart from those two, I don't think there's going to be much more to salvage here, apart from the power supply. Might be a few other little photo sensors again, but meh. The amount of plastic moulding in these, though, is very impressive. There you go. I mean, you know, it's just absolutely nutso. I still am surprised at the number of screws, but they would have certainly optimized them out. Like, you know, like they've got these, you know, Teflon-y type Delrin-y slider things for the drawers and stuff like that. But apart from that, it's just like huge ABS moldings, and they do try and, especially for all the outside coverings and things like that, they've just got clips everywhere. Got ourselves another photo sensor there. As I said, you'd keep the boards, and this is interesting. This is just a little grounding thing with just some little hairs on it, just to like a static discharge kind of thing is what would be happening there. And that's for all you plastics aficionados. Now just relax and tell me the first thing you visualize. Oh no, it's a T8 instead of a T10. Oh, somebody at HP was pissed when they, I've got it. I really have to use a T8 instead of a T10. Are you serious? Oh, then they've really rubbed it in by using like a T6 or a T5 or something. They're trolling. Yeah, I don't know if that one's useful for anything really. I don't know. There it is. Yeah, nah. Like, not as good as like the old school, like copiers and things like that you would get. Like an old-fashioned like dot matrix Hitachi interface dot matrix out of it, or a, you know, a 4-line by 20 character display, and you could reuse them, and they're just got, you know, a dip pin header kind of thing. And yeah, no, these newfangled things, yeah, don't even think that's useful, is it? I just realised that that's a crap ton of LEDs around there for, by presumably a backlight. What the? That looks like a pretty grunty motor. Not too shabby. And there's those rubber belts I was telling you about for the scanner. But they don't have them in the scanner. They have them down dry as the print head here. And that's interesting how they do the paper things. It's just a little metal cog on a little springy spring. Like that. That's kind of neat. That one's just fixed into plastic. But they're springy. And looks like some more staticky. Or anti-staticky. This is the head drive motor. Not sure if I'm getting that name at the right angle there, but anyway, it's yeah, made in Vietnam, I think. Anyway, that is the head drive motor, and that I believe is the paper advance motor. So they're not too shabby. Like, you'd keep those. And if you want to know how the head position is done, then it's with this tape here. And somebody snuck a bit of fun into their design. Thumbs up. There you go. That's just an optical grading system so that they can accurately position the print head so they know how far it's moved. There's the linear rod for you aficionados. It was actually secure. It wasn't secured at the ends. It was actually secured through 2 holes, actually just bored into the thing. So that's a bit disappointing. And well, there's your splash zone. No, oh, that's baked. Oh, it's baked on there, I think. Wow. Anyway, there's been a little bit of ink spillage, but not too much. I mean, the waste tank is over in this corner over here. And for this lever on the print head that locks it in place, this seems to be a different type than the regular ABS plastic. I guess they need that for the rigidity, or, you know, something. I don't know. Mechanical engineers, let us know. But anyway, whoa, look at all those pogo pins. And there's your interface board for your print head. Absolutely nothing of value there whatsoever. That's how they do the pogoies. There's no springs in there. It's just formed metal. So here's all the waste and cleaning parts of it. And yeah, that's the reservoir, or the, you know, the overspill tank or whatever it is, at which that would probably have a sensor in it, because usually these things have a sensor to tell you they're full. So yeah, anyway, you don't really want to be playing around with this. It's going to get messy. I'm just absolutely stunned at the number of plastic bits that slide up and clip in and insert over and under, and hidden screws and everything else. It's insane. Oh wow, we finally got a couple of extra tidbits. There's the soft power button. That's actually the power button board. That's got some circuitry on there, so like it could be as simple as like that, like the power problem, but this is not a repair truck. Well, can't repair it now, can we? And there's a little speaker down there, and there's another little photo sensor up the top, and yeah, it's about all she wrote. I mean, you know, if you want to collect springs. Now here's where it gets messy. This is all the inky stuff. Pop that there. Ta-da! We're in. Oh, look at the sludge. It's a river of slime. Look at this. Wow. I had no idea it'd be that sludgy. That's incredible. So there's the cleaning systems for these things, and they are pretty awful. And what does it, like, go onto there and then it slides and looks like it just drips down onto that sponge? That's just like, is it designed to do that? Or is it, no, obviously, they went to a fair bit of effort. And, yeah, they got rollers in there and stuff, and it just, like, but all the sludge. Look at all the sludge in there, and that's just over that huge spongy thing. Unbelievable. Seriously, inkjets. Come on. Like, I can see it. Come on.
You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
I thought most of the residual sludge was contained in the waste bin. Oh, there's actually, oh no, that's a motor. Okay. I thought that was a like the waste compartment thing, but nope. The waste compartment is like just a giant sponge with no sensor whatsoever. So, yeah. Now they've gone to the effort to put some rubber baby buggy bumpers on there to reduce the vibration to the chassis. Anyway, like, you would keep that Evo as a motor on its own, but we've already got a few motors out of this thing, but yeah, keep that as a little pumpy thing. That's the paper advance mechanism, and got some cogs down in there. There is actually a board down in there. I think it's just, yeah, it's just yet another optical sensor. So what, we've got like 4 of those out of this thing. Yeah, once you get a couple out, you know, it's diminishing returns. I'm actually quite amazed at the complexity of these moldings. Look at this. Just imagine the system design that goes into that to get all the hooks and figure it all out and everything else, and then all the mounting points for all the other things, and then this probably, I don't know, there's a cog that goes down in there for a cutout, and it's just, it's pretty incredible. And we finally got down to the power supply, only to find that, yep, it's basically, well, it is a HP branded jobby, of course, but they don't do it. They just farm it out to somebody. But yeah, it's like a regular power brick, except they got a cutout there for one of, like, I think that's the for something, some sort of coggy thing. So it's just like a custom plastic enclosure, and add insult to injury, we have to do extra effort to get it apart. It's a ultrasonically welded jobby, but anyway, like, you wouldn't have to get it, you would just take that, and what do we get out of it? Anyway, that's a bit different. Plus 32 volts and plus 12 volts at 1.1 amps, so that's not too shabby. Yeah, like, you would keep that. That was just like a they even give you the pinout on there. Nice. What's the deal here? Plus 32 volts and plus 12 volts. That looks like a moon. That looks like sleep mode or something. So, you know, you would test that, play around with it. I think if you ground the sleep pin or something, it might switch between the 12 volts and 32 volts switchable output. So that might be handy for some project or something. Yeah, you definitely keep that. That's a score. And there's the paper advance motor down in there. Uses a pulley, so we can score another motor. I think that's 4 motors out of this whole thing. And there's the encoder disc. So I don't know, can you count the teeth on there? Count the resolution on that? But yeah, another photo sensor, and that just counts the, knows how far that the paper's moved. And there's absolutely nothing left. That is just yet another big plastic shell like that, although don't turn it upside down, because all the, well, I think most of that ink's like dried up in there perhaps, but yeah, that's it. It's just one big enormous plastic assembly, like a couple of extra ones on here for like the paper feed path and stuff. But man, there's nothing left. We're done. That's it. That's all we got that's even remotely useful out of this huge consumer inkjet printer. Like, I'd even say like the LCD is probably a bit useless. That was like almost heat staked in there. That was really hard to get out. You know, the linear sensor you're probably not going to reuse, but you know, you got 5 motors out of this thing. You got a couple of optical sensors, and you got maybe a couple of inductors off the main board. and a power supply, and I don't know, you might be able to reuse the backlight for something. I wouldn't bother. And a linear rod. Like, what? And this is the carnage of what's left. So unless you're like a plastic recycler or something, like taking apart one of these things is just absolutely pointless. There's just, there's so much, just mostly plastic and like a couple of metal brackets, and that's all she wrote for these consumer printers. They're just really not worth your time. Sadly, even if you like salvaging parts, there's hardly anything in them. It's unbelievable. So there you go. I salvaged it so that you almost certainly don't have to waste your time doing this. If you see these in the dumpster, I think just give them a wide berth. But as I've shown in previous videos, like photocopiers and those really like rugged high-end office copiers and stuff like that, yeah, they've got a lot of extra motors and parts and sensors and all sorts of stuff in them. So they're often worth it. And they'll have high voltage stuff for the corona wires and stuff like that. So they've got a lot more interesting parts that you can salvage out of them. But this, that's got to get a thumbs down. Anyway, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, because you can give it a thumbs down, but you can't count the bloody thing. Catch you next time.